going to be near and dear, certainly to Gene Wojciechowski's heart, and really to all of us, I think. Lee Corso, as most everybody knows, is going to do his last college game day, week 1, Horseshoe, Texas, Ohio State. Gino, how many years did you work on the game day set?
11 years.
11 years. And, of course, knew him well before then. I did, too. I worked a couple of years with game day, and he's just been such a cherished figure in college football, and is really – he elevated that show, but just elevated the Saturday experience, I think, so much. The show did, and him in particular. Gene, I want to know, what was it like working with Coach Corso? What are the emotions going to be like watching him sign off?
Yeah, bittersweet. I mean, we talk about Mount Rushmores all the time. I think it's Grantland Rice. I think it's Keith Jackson. I think it's Kirk Herbstreit, and I think it's LC. I just think he's one of the all-time greats. He's meant so much to college football. And he redefined really the way that we entertain in a pregame show when it comes to college football. But what I'll always love about Coach Corso was his kindness. I was a nobody on that show, but I might get a call in the middle of the week from Coach Corso just saying, "Hey, you did a really nice job on that story, you and your producers. And that was really good." And it might be a 30-second call, but it meant everything. Or he would come over before a show and just kind of, wink and give you a handshake, which, by the way, would crush every bone in your hand. And I always loved going out there and being on the set when the show first started. And I loved watching the relationship between Kirk and Lee, because early in Kirk's career, Lee was the one who sort of held Kirk's hand. And later in Lee's career, it's Kirk that's sort of holding Coach's hand. And it's a beautiful, real, authentic relationship between the two of them. And then finally, I would just say that, we use the word courage a lot in sports. Wow, what a courageous downhill 7-foot putt that was. No, that's not courage. Courage is doing what Lee Corso did, which was have a significant medical event, a stroke, and then coming back and being on the most unforgiving medium in the world, live television, and getting back there and doing it and having the courage to do it. And I have just so much respect for that guy. And before a show would begin, fellas, you could hear Coach Corso down a hallway or in the adjoining room, kind of like getting his voice ready, getting his throat ready. He had rested up the night before. He had done all of his homework. It meant so much to him, and he wanted to be the true professional, and that never went away. So I respect that guy 1,000 different ways. And like a lot of people, I'm sure I'm going to, it's going to get dusty wherever I am watching that final show with Coach.
Yeah, no doubt. Well said. Bryan, your thoughts on Lee Corso's run, and you'll be there to see the last show.
Yeah, I mean, Gino kind of mentioned it a little bit, just how nice Lee is. I first met him probably back in 2008, I would say. Just was back, in the back of the room watching game day, happen, for one of the shows, and being basically a PA, and the warmth that you got from Lee, to everybody in that room, on a constant basis, definitely stuck out in my mind. And I think he's honestly kind of been the soul of college football. Everybody, any segment that you would have on issues off the field related to the playoff, whatever it might be, that was kind of about the sport itself. There would be great points, around the desk with Kirk and Dez and all those guys. But, it would go over to Lee, and maybe in one line or two, he would sum up why this was good or bad for the game. And that was, and he was always spot on. That to me was the thing, that he understood college football from both a granular level as a head coach in terms of those X's and O's, but he also understood the bigger picture about the sport. And that to me is frankly what we're going to be losing, come next Saturday when he's there at the Horseshoe and he puts on that final head. I mean, everybody looked forward to that. Everybody anticipated that, but to me, the thing that we are really losing beyond the entertainment factor with Lee is honestly just he understood that we got to protect this game, and we got to protect it from some of the things that have been happening to it. It is getting away to the sport that a lot of us grew up to, watching, a lot of us grew up covering, and that to me is the thing that I think we will miss most of all with him retiring from the show. Is just he could sum things up in one sentence, and you just started nodding. And that thing that to me is Lee Corso. He understood college football, and he really was kind of the soul of the sport.
Yeah, just so many good points there from both of you all. I just having again worked on the show, and what Gene said, he has a nice personal touch about him. He's a big deal. He was the biggest deal on the show for a long time, but he would, have something nice to say to everybody that was working on the show and treat everybody well. And the relationship between he and Kirk is genuine and quite touching. I agree. And I got to give credit to ESPN for the way it has taken care of Lee to a degree after his stroke, and kept him on the show, and kept Dick Vitale through his medical issues. These are the two people that did as much as anybody to make ESPN what it is, and the network hasn't forgotten them and has kind of shepherded them through, and I think it's been fantastic. So hats off to Lee Corso. I hope he has a wonderful retirement, but we will miss seeing him grab that headgear.